Welcome to Journey to Joy Live, a podcast to promote wellness, resilience, and inspire joy. Be empowered to balance your mental, physical, financial, aspirational, and social health while providing mental health awareness and breaking down the stigma of mental illness in the Black community. I'm your host, Dr. NJoy, and I'm here to help you transform life's challenges into opportunities for joy. Let's begin the journey together. I ask all my guests, this is Journey to Joy Live. So Tell us quickly about your journey to joy.
Constantly taking care of myself.
Is empowering myself to trust my intuition.
So my journey to joy was really leaning in to my value system.
I think freeing up myself, like letting go of like expectations.
It has been through self-work, therapy.
It's self-care because self-care is transformative.
Personal journey to joy, a lot of it is around my faith.
Your purpose is within. And so my joy is honestly to give yourself joy.
Journey to joy is keeping a pulse on what I need day to day.
Self-grace, self-compassion, self-love, all the self stuff, self-care. Journey to Joy Live has made it to episode 100. 0 to 100. Feeling your journey to joy. And I'm so excited to be joined by these awesome guests. I have Dr. Barbara Joy Jones.
Hey.
Family medicine physician, and Dr. Joy Baker.
Hey.
OB-GYN physician. If you haven't noticed, we are having a conversation with Joy about joy.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, thank you for coming. And tell us about yourself, Dr. Barbara Joy.
So I am Dr. Barbara Joy Jones. I am a primary care physician for the Healthy Woman. And I also am a plus size model. I do a lot of media, so national and local TV. I am a mother. I have IVF boy-girl twins, and they are 26 months old and learning how to talk. And I just love supporting women. And my passion right now is perimenopause. Is capturing this 35 to 55 demographic of women that for 2 decades were marginalized who are now having a voice. So I am really passionate about that. So that's what I'm up to in the world.
That is awesome. And you skated over the Healthy Woman. Your practice is in multiple places, right?
Yes. We have primary care in Lawrenceville, which is me. We have primary care in East Atlanta, Dr. Yolanda Harrison Lloyd. And we have OB-GYN in Snellville and East Atlanta and Lawrenceville as well. So, and we're expanding, and we open up another primary care practice in Newnan, Georgia with Dr. Tashina Bernigan. So expanding care for women.
Yes, you are doing things. Thank you for joining. And Dr. Joy Baker, tell us about you.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me. And I am an OB-GYN physician in LaGrange, Georgia. So I'm out in the country, and I have been practicing for about 15 years. And during COVID, I launched a social media platform called Delivering Joy MD to provide reliable information for women. So y'all make sure you check it out. But lately in the world, I have been up to really thinking about how we can reduce maternal morbidity and mortality, particularly for Black women, and also doing a few side things. So I started a wellness practice where I do IV infusions called Renew Infusion and Wellness. So Renew Infusion and Wellness is sort of like my baby right now. So we do all sorts of IV hydration, vitamin therapy, and then I'm doing aesthetics. So Botox fillers, PDO threadless. My lips are amazing. Not mine, but I'm just saying the lips that I do. So it's really been such a journey, and I've been really enjoying that. It sort of revitalized how I feel about the practice of medicine, actually, which is really surprising. But it was definitely a journey to joy, for sure.
Yes, for sure. So
you are a billboard for your business, because you look good, girl.
Oh, yes. And we are covering all the bases: psychiatry, mental health, physical health, women's health, and, 0 to 100. The reason why, other than us being in episode 100, I said that is that when we talk about going, they go 0 to 100. They go 0 to 1,000. We're always talking about somebody getting stressed out, somebody going from happy to anger, happy to scared or stressed, or whatever it is. But how about we flip the script and do the opposite?
Why can't we go 0 to 100 in joy? Like when you're angry. You ever thought about that?
Yeah.
So that's really what this is about, and how we can do that from a physical health standpoint, from a mental health standpoint, whatever standpoint. Do you felt like you've had something where you could just go 0 to 100 in joy when you were in the face of stress or trauma or anything? Does that happen to you? Any self-care? For me, it's running. Everybody knows I love running. Running is my zen, my therapy, my medication. It sounds crazy because you're like, well, you got to run for a little bit. But for me, I get on that treadmill and it's just, bam, endorphin. I feel better. Well, yeah. It's endorphin. It legit is natural medication.
Look, I only run when something big and scary is chasing me. I do very much enjoy yoga. There's this adorable yoga studio not too far from my office. So I'm like pulling up there on 2 wheels twice a week just to get my zen in. And I really have
enjoyed that, like to take me from stress of the day to like a happy place before I go home, you know? Yeah.
Yoga definitely does that for a lot of people. And I'm the opposite because yoga, I just can't get with it, but I probably should because as a runner, you kind of need that flexibility and strength. Yeah. So I probably should.
Yep. And for me lately, it's been mocktails. So not mocktails as in the kind that's sugary that doesn't have alcohol, but the kind that has like ashwagandha, L-theanine, and lion's mane mushroom. So when I get home, I'll have a mocktail just to calm down and then take over the kids and do their nighttime routine. So that's what I've been doing. And then yesterday, I finally flipped the switch. When I started IVF, I did not work out. I basically, when you do IVF, your ovaries are like the size of grapefruits. And I wasn't trying to cause an ovarian torsion and then have a medical emergency.
Yeah.
So basically they said you can't really exercise when you're stimulating during that time period. And so basically I said no exercise after IVF. And then I had a high risk twin pregnancy on bed rest at 28 weeks. And then after that, I was like, I'm not going to exercise when I'm trying to make this breast milk. So is we doing this or was we doing this? Right. So I had 2 little preemie babies, 3 pounds, 4 pounds, and now they're huge and they look like 4-year-olds and they're only 2. So anyways, where I was going with it is I started exercising for the first time yesterday. Oh, wow. I basically worked out in the morning, did some strength, and then I walked for 4 miles. And so I just didn't compare myself to anybody else. I waited until it was time. It's been 3 years. And then just yesterday, I flipped the switch and said, it's time. You're going to eat right, drink your water, take all your supplements. And now it's time to bring the fitness in. But before that, there were other things that I was doing, taking proper supplements and drinking my water and being around people I loved.
For sure. Yeah. And you mentioned comparison. Comparison is a joy thief for sure.
Oh,
and even sometimes comparing to your past self, like, but I used to do this and how dare I not be able to do it now? But it's just like when you compare it, it just takes the joy away.
I always say comparison is from the devil because what it does is it steals your joy in that moment and your joy in who you are in that moment, right? Because our bodies have been through so much. We are so busy taking care of all these other people and there's all this change that's happening. And so wherever we are in that moment, it's okay. We just need to be able to accept that, love that, be who, we are right then and there. I think that's so important. And we often lose that trying to figure out, well, I don't look like her or I don't look like how I used to look. Like, how about you look good right now and you're surviving and thriving and doing what you need to be doing?
Yeah. Because I was like, let me just get the body that I used to have. Used to be a bad bitch. You know what I'm saying? I used to get triple takes and now it's like, oh, she's getting overlooked. What? Okay. So anyways, basically I'm like, that's not going to be the case. I gave birth to 2 children. I breastfed for 17 months and 6 days. The hardest thing I've ever done.
Oh, and for twins too.
Girl.
That is
now it's like, it's the goal to get a MILF body. Not the old body, not the 25-year-old bad body, but the MILF body, become a MILF. Okay, go ahead.
Exactly. Yeah. That is so true. It's self-grace, right? You do grace in the progress because you make progress as you go and you may get back, you may not, and that's all right.
But the thing is that regardless of how that 25-year-old body did not produce 2 human beings and 17 months worth of, this is a super bad body. Okay. It's like it's a superpower. I mean, this thing, you said they gave birth to twins. Stuff in here. Okay. So that body is the real MVP.
Thank you, Joy B.
And what we're talking about is reframing our mind. It's all about our mind. I say this all the time about what we tell ourselves and our positive affirmations and our gratitude. You're talking about gratefulness. You're grateful that you're able to bear twins, humans, and you are giving yourself grace for like what you've done and where you are and where you'll go. So
thank you. And then speaking of bounce back, you have a 2-year-old too, girl.
Thank you.
I can't tell. You look good.
Thank you.
I don't know. I might start running looking at you, honey. I ain't birthed nothing, and you still got me beat.
Thank you. It's 80% diet because I can work out every day, but when I get into my favorite ice cream and pancakes and all kinds of stuff, that won't change. So it's the diet too. Yeah. You all know about that. So actually, let's get into the physical health because people say, well, why do I need to be happy? Why do I need to experience joy? Well, can we talk about, from a physical health perspective, how joy can impact the body versus how stress impacts the body?
Yes. So I would say that 70 to 80% of what walks through my door with chronic conditions, high blood pressure, diabetes, and all that probably started at stress. Because we have two sides of our nervous system. We have sympathetic, which is fight or flight, whether you going to go kill something to eat it or run away, like you were talking about. And then there's parasympathetic, which is rest, digest, and have sex. You're supposed to rest and digest. We're supposed to be here 90% of the time, and then here 10% of the time. But it's completely switched where it's the opposite.
Yeah,
we're not meant to push out all that cortisol and epinephrine all the time.
Yeah.
And so you really do have to do things to find your joy and have that perspective to calm your nervous system, because we're not meant to be over there in the sympathetic side all the time.
Right.
And it does over time.
Yeah.
It's something called weathering. Weathering happens in women of color all the time, where there's micro and macroaggressions out in the world. Because you know how if you have a rock and then water falls on it, but if it goes for a long time, there's like a little indentation.
Oh, wow.
So that happens to women of color all the time, that when you're dealing with the world, along with what chronic conditions and other people go through, just other stuff that you have to deal with, you know, Black women dealing with code switching, having to talk one way, then the other. It's just very, very difficult. And it causes a lot of stress that you have to be consciously cognizant all the time, where other people can just be themselves. That weathering and that stress, I see it happen all the time.
Absolutely. I can't imagine that we're naturally in the sympathetic only 10% of the time. It seems like most of the time it's probably 40, 60%.
Well, I mean, I feel like people live in a high stress state all the time. They always in that high cortisol environment.
Yeah.
And when I think about how that weathering affects Black maternal mortality, you know, it is very much exactly what you said. It's all of those things, the micro and macro aggressions. And then there is the stress on the body from the pregnancy itself. But living in a constant high cortisol state, particularly for pregnant people, is so bad because it dysregulates your hormonal axis. And it can literally cause people to have increased risk of preterm birth, low birth weight, diabetes in pregnancy, high blood pressure in pregnancy. And so it is something that literally chips away at your health over time, and it ages the body on a cellular level. Even though we know Black don't crack, right? We look good,
and Asian don't crazy.
Exactly. Right. The two best looking people as we age, the two ethnicities that age so well. But anyway, you know, when we think about the fact that that high stress level constantly sort of chips away, it literally ages our bodies on the cellular level, and it ages our blood vessels, and it can give us high blood sugars, higher blood pressures, and higher cholesterol levels. So then we get what's called metabolic syndrome. And now we're dealing with heart disease and all the kidney disease and all of these other issues simply because of the environment that we live in. And sometimes we don't get to always choose that, but we can choose joy, and we can choose self-care, and we can choose to do those things that help us lessen our stress levels, you know?
Exactly. So you're getting into the next part, because we need to know the reason why we need to try to choose joy, because stress obviously impacts our body from a great deal, and it obviously lessens our lifespan, right? I can imagine.
Yes. And so when I talk to women, when my patients come in, I ask them about home life and work life, because if they are unhappily single or unhappily married, that's a bad indicator of health. or if at work, if you have a boss that micromanages you, or you don't like, or you don't feel fulfilled, basically, if health is mind, body, soul, you are rendering me incapable to help you with your physical health because you're dealing with trauma, where you sleeping with trauma. He's sitting next to you.
Yeah.
He's sleeping next to you.
Yep.
Or your boss is around you.
Yep.
So if you are going to be in those situations, you have to switch your thought process, or you have to change where you are. There's only two options. It's the serenity prayer, right? What can I change? What can I not? And then if I can't change it, let's pray about it.
I tell you what, these days I'm on that Angela Davis serenity, where it says I'm no longer accepting the things or whatever. I'm changing things I cannot accept.
There it is. Yeah.
Right. I'm not just, accepting the things I cannot change. I'm changing the things that I cannot accept. And I think there is always a choice there. We think about these things and we are like, oh, I can't stand this. I hate my job. I don't feel fulfilled, or I'm not happy at home. I'm not happy in my relationship, whatever. We always have the choice to change and decide that we're going to live a life that is less in that sympathetic nervous system and more in the parasympathetic. But that means we may have to give up some things.
Yeah.
May have to give up some things that are causing that stress and be willing, to be dedicated to that change.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's a choice. I mean, I've had a podcast episode, is joy a choice or an emotion? And we decided it's both. I mean, it is a feeling. We feel the joy, but it's also a choice that you could enter that journey to joy and decide. So how can we make that choice? What does that mean? So obviously from a physical standpoint, making the choice to do the exercise, eating healthy, making sure you're getting sleep, keeping up with the doctor visits.
Yeah. So I would say as primary care, you want to see, well, as women, we get 2 primary care visits, one with gynecology with Dr. Baker, and then one with primary care, where we draw a plethora of labs and ask you a bunch of questions. But that's where you get your preventative health, where there's a baseline. We know what that looks like. So if there's a deviation, then we can say, hey, something's going awry, and we can catch it early versus when it's already down the hill.
Yeah.
So going to your doctor's visits, that's for sure. And finding somebody that listens and can relate to you. So who your doctor is matters as well.
Oh, certainly.
So if you're super healthy, it doesn't matter who you see. You can just be in and out. But if you have some things that you need to talk about, you need to find somebody that you can relate to.
Yes, exactly.
Even if you're primarily healthy, I would argue that you do need someone who's going to pay attention, because I see patients all the time that maybe are missing screenings, like they're not getting them at the right times, or no one's really talked to them about the fact they have high blood pressure, because their blood pressure is high every single time they go to the doctor, but no one said, hey, you might need some medication.
Right.
So, finding someone that you trust and that you can relate to, I think that's relatable. That's a huge deal for folks. And particularly women, I think that a lot of the things we carry, we really need to talk about, but we don't necessarily always feel safe to do so. And I think that, having that at least one doctor that you can talk to about everything that's going on with you in your life, your sex life, your work life, your home life, that is super important, because like you said, we're not going to be able to make you help you be physically healthy if you're fighting all of these other stressors and things that are keeping you from making the choices that you need to make in order to get to that physical health that you desire.
And that doctor-patient relationship, I mean, that's probably part of why some of the Black community don't want to go to the doctor, because they don't trust them, right? Trust them with their information, trust them what's going on. And a lot of us feel like, well, I'm scared to find out what's going on, because then that's going to impact my mental health there. But it's going to impact your mental health first if what's going on gets worse because you haven't seen the doctor. So it's definitely important to follow up and find someone that you trust.
Right. Because, if your physical health is ailing, it does very much affect your mental health. Like if you are having chronic pain, or, you're just always wiped out and tired and not able to do the things you enjoy over time, we see that happen all the time. Like particularly in my chronic pelvic pain patients, a lot of them suffer from anxiety and depression because of that long history of pain. And then we know that anxiety and depression only make the pain worse. So it's like a vicious cycle.
Yeah,
that happens. Yeah.
I also find that women wear a lot of hats. They, we find that women have work and then they go home with the children and do a second shift. And
always on.
Yeah, always on. And so that mental load of not just having to do things, but to keep track of doctor's visits, to keep track of when swim classes, to keep track of all those things is a lot of load. So it might be just asking for help, like delegating certain tasks or asking your partner for help. Because sometimes, they don't know if you don't actually say, hey, I need help. Because a lot of women, we can come off like super women.
Yeah.
And think that you have it together when really, we really need to offload some stuff.
Exactly.
Like this whole thing of balance, bump balance. Like you need to pick certain things that are thriving, that you need to thrive on and concentrate on, and then throw others to the side. You're not going to be able to balance all. You need to pick a couple and thrive in those. And then the other things are just going to be status quo, but you can't be excellent at everything. You're going to have to choose what is most important now.
Yeah.
So for me, there for 3 years, I wasn't on TV as much. I wasn't on the runway. I wasn't doing all that because I was having those babies. So I knew for that time period, for 3 to 5 years, I was going to have to put some of the stuff that was furthering my career to the side because I knew I wanted to have children. So each stage of life, there's a certain thing that is going to be most important to you. Figure that out and stop trying to go 100 on everything. It's just not possible. You will burn out.
Yeah.
And then you come to me talking about I have headaches or I have constipation or I have pain here or I have this or I have that. I can't sleep. I have a headache, all these different symptoms. And you say, why? And I said, girl, why not? Look at what you're doing.
Right.
Look at all you're carrying. Why not? It was about time. There's only so much that you can do this before you just topple over and you are in my office just vomiting all the stuff that's happening.
Well, we got
Poor
the
baby. I'll take care of you.
The people pleasers out there, difficult to say no. So that's what's really getting in the way of us doing everything and putting all this stuff on the plate. But that's how we lose sight of our own identity and who we are in all these roles.
Absolutely. One thing that I had to start doing, because I'm one of those, high capacity people who's trying to be on 100 for everything. I had to start looking at, what really is my purpose here? Like, what am I put on this earth to do? What's my life's mission? But really, what do I love? What brings me joy? Like, what do I thrive in? And then start really being mission minded and saying, hey, this really doesn't further the mission. So I actually sat down and wrote out a personal mission statement.
There it is.
Okay, this is my personal mission. This is what I'm here to do. And then when people come and say, oh, well, can you do this? And can you do that? And can you, juggle these balls in the air and spin these plates at the same time? Well, I'm like, if it's not mission minded, if it's not a part of that mission that I wrote out, then I have to say no.
Yeah.
We have to sometimes put down all the good things for what's best.
Well, you treat your life like it's like in the organization, like corporate, they talk about mission values and core values and mission statement, things like that. So we need that for our life. So if something pops up and doesn't align with your values or your mission, nope.
I have a girlfriend named Romy who said it has to be a full body yes. And a full body yes means your mind, your heart, and your gut. Ooh. You might have two that align, but then the other doesn't, but it's still not a full body yes. You have to believe in it with your heart. Your gut has to say yes. And then consciously you have to say yes too. That's a full body yes.
Ooh,
that's when you should say yes.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And we also need to learn that no is a complete sentence.
Yep.
One thing that I've done, because some of us are very much people pleasers, I'm a recovering people pleaser, is that I've said, I have such a huge network. I love meeting people. And I'm like, this is not a good fit for me right now, but let me connect you with, somebody. And if I can't do that, I'm like, I hope you find exactly the right person for this. This is a wonderful idea or a program or opportunity, but it's just not a fit for me right now.
Good.
Yeah,
just
because.
But even then, like you said, it's a complete sentence, so you really don't have to explain it. But that's very nice.
But I do, if there are people in the community, particularly that are looking for resources, I might not be able to do everything. But I'm like, let me see if someone in my network might actually be better suited to help you right now. And there's nothing wrong with that, and they appreciate that. But they also, can appreciate the fact that, hey, I can't do this right now. I'm not, I'm just not going to be available for that. But no, as a complete sentence it's a hard lesson to learn and to stand by it, because people won't be pleased anymore with you sometimes.
And
but
be okay with
but
it.
And let them. Mel Robbins said, let them.
Oh my God, I just finished that book not that long ago. Yes, it was fabulous. Let them talk, let them be upset, let me focus on what I need to be focused on in order to fulfill my purpose and my personal mission.
And it has to do with self-awareness, being intentional, being authentic, So all those things, even if people are, how do I know my life's mission? Well, you have to sit and reflect. You have to journal. You have to work on those things and figure it out. And you may not figure it out overnight, but that's all right. You will eventually. And if you need a therapist to do all those things, that's fine too.
Yeah. Everybody should be in therapy.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Once a week, Dr. Tiffany Pope.
Yay.
Yeah, I always advise. I think there's so much going on in the world right now. We are doing so many things. We're watching the news. There's social media. There's just such a barrage of information coming at us all the time, and most of it not positive. And so I think that it really is important to be in therapy. I believe therapy and coaching have been two things that have really propelled my life towards joy, for
That's
sure.
awesome. That's really good. So let's get into some deeper things, like, because people are like, okay, fine, you're just talking about work stress, you're talking about home life stress. What about those who've experienced trauma, whether it's abuse or loss, or getting into women's health, any issues with like miscarriages, infertility? How can we experience joy in the face of all that?
You're the psychiatrist. Why don't we answer? Can I turn the mirror on you?
Exactly. I know, right? I mean, last week we were just talking about experiencing joy in the midst of grief, in the midst of loss or trauma and challenges. And it's all the things that we talk about, right? So self-care, our mindset, reframing our mind and reframing how we think about stress and how we think about challenges. I say all the time, joy is resistance. So it's resisting against those things. And also, as far as changing your mindset, thinking about it as it's going to come. Challenges are going to come. Hardship's going to come. So when it comes, it's kind of like, okay, here we go. And being ready with your self-care toolkit, your coping skills, whatever it is. And self-care isn't just the physical. I mean, the NJoy right here, I talk about self-care from a perspective of mental, physical, financial, aspirational, and our social health. So we got to have a self-care in all of those categories because we can't neglect either of them. We need to, I know you don't like the word balance. A lot of people don't know like the word balance, but in some ways we got to be able to balance in some way, to have our unity, but we need to be able to take care of all those things in order to keep that balance and keep ourselves whole.
And, I love what you said is that things are going to happen.
Yeah.
Issues are going to come up. Life is going to life, like on a regular basis. So you have to have a firm foundation, whatever that is that grounds you. If that's your spirituality, your relationship with God, if that's, your journaling practice, if that's your exercise, whatever it is that you go to for grounding, you need to have that there in place. And then you also need to know that better days will come.
Yeah.
I think that sometimes
even if you don't believe it, saying it helps.
Saying it helps.
Yeah.
And that this is not the end. There have been so many times in my life where I was like rock bottom. I'm thinking, oh my God, this is not going to work out, whether it be career, finances, relationships. But as time went on and I continued to just hold on to my grounding stone, I was able to see the light at the end of the tunnel and just come out of it. And then, sometimes there are definitely mountaintops and there are valleys. And sometimes you have to recognize, hey, I'm walking through a valley right now, but eventually I'm coming back to the mountaintop. I'm on the ascent. If you are at rock bottom in the valley, there's nothing else for you to do but to ascend.
Right.
So we have to be mindful of that and remind ourselves of that and encourage ourselves, and keep going.
Yeah, and I actually talk about my battles with miscarriages in my new book, Wife, Mom, Boss, Balancing It All Without Losing Yourself. And
Yes, I love it.
And it's interesting because when I was dealing with that, I'm like, oh, am I ever going to be a mom? Why is this happening to me? There's certain people out there you see with 10 kids. Why can't I, carry a baby to term? What is going on? And when I look back, it really only took 6 months to get pregnant. But in that moment, it feels like forever. And that's the thing with stress and depression and anxiety. You feel like it's forever when it really isn't, right? And so because we feel like it's forever and permanent, then we start choosing the permanent solutions, like for people who turn to suicide, right? So that's really long stretch. But we need to remind ourselves this is temporary. And that's what you're saying. It's like, hey, it's going to be over. So reminding yourself of that. You were about to say something.
Yeah. I was just saying, and also you don't have to take on everything. The answer is in the room. You don't have to know everything, learn anything, and know everything before you move forward. like there's answers in the room. There is somebody who knows something. So example, I opened up a private practice with Dr. Jocelyn Slaughter. She knows the business of medicine. I just had the network in marketing. I brought my patients, and together as work wives, we put together a practice that is thriving, and we're providing excellent healthcare in Lawrenceville, Georgia, in Gwinnett. And so the answer's in the room. You don't have to know everything, and you can pull on those things so you don't feel so much stress and pressure to know everything.
Yeah, exactly. That's key. There's a community that can help you. There's connection. There's always someone that you can turn to who knows more and how to help you and support you.
And I think that the key to unlocking that door and getting the answers that you need that are in the room is being willing to talk about what you're going through. I think that that's such a challenge, especially for us as physicians. A lot of times we don't ever want to admit that something's out of control.
Right. In vulnerability and in transparency.
Yeah.
And then showing that you don't have it all together is when people come and help.
Right.
Because you can't get help if you don't act like you need help.
Or you're unapproachable. Like, I'm not going to help her. She knows everything and does everything.
Whether you're a physician or some other profession, a lot of times, even as Black women, it's hard to admit that you are not the strong Black woman trope. You don't have everything all together. I need help. That sometimes can be such a hard sentence to say, I need help. But it unlocks so many answers. Oftentimes, people that we didn't even know were in our corners cheering us on, who were just waiting for you to say, can you help me?
Yeah.
Well, doctors are the worst patient.
We are.
Dr. Nicole Washington called me out when I was a guest on her podcast when I told her I hadn't scheduled my mammogram yet. Because I'm 40. I know, look at this face. But guess what? It's scheduled tomorrow.
Okay.
Going tomorrow.
I was saying 40. Okay.
Oh, no, I'm actually 41. So that shows how long I took to get it scheduled.
Well, I just, it is hard, right? My husband asked me, like, when are you going to do your physical? And I was like, and I could literally just go into one of the rooms in my office and see my nurse practitioner. I just haven't done it. Like, I could walk down the street and get my mammogram.
Wait, when was the last time you had your physical?
Doctor orders, get it done, girl.
Get it done. It's just a matter of taking that time for yourself. It can be difficult, right?
Why is it
but
so
I'm
difficult?
gonna get it done this month for sure. Well, I mean June, because it's
not in May. Tomorrow.
Right,
tomorrow, Saturday. Yeah, that's the thing. In all these roles, we get lost. It's like, who are we? Your wife, your mom, your boss, your caregiver, whatever it is. Because there's that part. The sandwich generation. We're at the age where we might be caring for a parent, whether they're with us or sick, or because we're paying for whatever, and we lose ourselves. And it's a matter of taking off those layers mentally and saying, who am I without that? And being able to keep that and also put yourself back on the priority list.
And I think, with the question that you asked about finding joy, even when you're going through health challenges, infertility, miscarriages, I think realizing that we're not defined by what we do or what we have, be that, material things or children or husbands or whatever, we ourselves are a unique light that was sent here to shine, regardless of any of the other things, right? And so really honing into that and saying, who am I at my core without all that stuff that I think I want right now? Who am I? Just me, down to the bare bones, and realizing that you deserve love, you deserve peace, you deserve joy, just for being who you are, not because you're a physician, not because you're a mom, not because you're a business owner, not because you got a Panamera or whatever, but just who you are right now in this moment deserves peace, joy, and love.
And just accepting the present. Because, for people who wish they were married and they're single, or wish they were single and they're married, just kind of accepting where you are in the moment. Because it felt like forever before I met my husband. I barely dated in the 20s because I was just trying to get into medical school and be a doctor. And then, poof, oh, wait, I found him and I'm married, But in that time, I literally had to create an alternate universe in my mind, and really say, okay, what if I never get married? And just live my life like that. Do the traveling. I didn't buy a house, but some people, go ahead and buy that house when they're single. But sometimes you have to do that in order to just live in the present and have that joy. And then it just falls in your lap when you least expect it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like with IVF, they say that after families go through IVF, then they conceive naturally afterwards because the stress was removed. Like you'll have an IVF baby, and the next thing you know, you think you're done. It's like, you just conceived naturally because you were so stressed out before, and now you don't have any stress. And here comes pop another baby.
That literally happened to my friend. She was going to go through IVF, and she went to the visit, and they said, "Oh, you're not eligible for IVF." And she was like, "Well, why?" "Oh, because you're pregnant." She was like, "What?" So that was even before the IVF. So maybe the stress was removed because she knew she was about to go through it. But yes, that just goes back to stress.
It does.
How it impacts our body.
It wreaks havoc on the body. It really does. It wreaks havoc on the body and the mind.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some healthy stresses, like I should get up for work in the morning. Things that you know that you need to do and complete. But when you're living in a high stress environment all the time, it really just does a number on you. And it can affect every system in your body.
Yeah,
every system.
And so it's not an autopilot thing for self-care. When you need to really switch into that parasympathetic rest and digest to like calm that nervous system down, you have to plan it. You have to like be intentional with how you do it. So example, today, I did not finish charts before I left work because I chose to walk for 30 minutes with my nurse practitioner, Janice, during lunch around our building for half an hour to get that reset, to get that oxygen, to be back in nature, to connect with her as a human being. And I don't regret it because I went into the second half of the day refreshed. Other things that I tell my patients to do is we are in electromagnetic frequencies all the time with tablets and phones and everything all over the place. Sometimes just disconnecting, like choosing a day, the Sunday that I disconnect, or that going back to having dinners with your family. Cell phones go into a basket, and then you're actually really connecting with human beings, because there was I forgot which Ivy League study did this, but when we talk about longevity and happiness, it's two things: having a sense of purpose, that what you're doing, your purpose with your life is meaningful and impactful, and then also your connections with people. It doesn't, money's nice, but connecting and having real friendships that you really pursue and work on maintaining that connection, that those two things, purpose and friendships, relationships, is what makes for happiness and longevity in your life.
Oh, that's good. You hit the nail on the head. I mean, it takes intention. It's not just an autopilot thing. Stress is easy. It just comes natural. It just falls right on you. And you can choose to use those emotions that come when you go into that sympathetic nervous system. But joy takes work.
Oh,
It takes work and intention. Like just the other day, our travel day, it started at 7 a.m. on Tuesday and then ended at 6 a.m. on Wednesday because we had to go in the air in circles, literally over Cuba. And once we finally was able to go there, like, oh yeah, there's no fuel. You have to stop in Miami and get fuel. And it was so many opportunities to be frustrated because I had the kids to deal with, but I chose joy. And I decided, I was like, I'm just grateful that, the reasons they stopped our plane is because they didn't want a rocket ship to fall on it. It was during that SpaceX that was going on over there. So I'm just grateful to be alive. Right. I'm just grateful that we have another plane to get back on.
And we're going to get there. We're going to get home. It's going to be all right.
And it sounds fluffy, but gratefulness goes a long
really does.
way.
Really does.
The way, like a perspective on how, like the way that you look at something is how it can turn out. So I find that people who approach disease or cancer or IVF or different situations that happen in life, that according to the perspective that you have is how the outcome, you can literally will the outcome to be and to have an improved perspective when you have joy in it, when you choose happiness, when you choose to see the glass half full. If you can't change something, you may as well, like you shouldn't just sit there in wallow in it. Try to find the testimony or trying to find the lesson or move forward.
I love that quote that says life is 90% or 10% of what happened to us, but 90% in how we respond to it. And we have the responsibility, as in I have the ability to respond to this in a way that is going to promote my joy, my peace. Even though it may be a horrible situation, I believe that every situation has to work for my good, no matter what. So that helps to ground me. I'm like, it might feel terrible. It might look terrible. It might be embarrassing, degrading, distressing. But I believe that in the end, my good is what will come of the, it will turn around for my good. So I think that has been very helpful for me and looking for the joy in situations because you never know.
Work.
I was in a situation yesterday where I went to, or earlier this week, I went to an event and there was a individual there who I had such a rough time with. And people were like, oh, isn't that person? And how could you hug them and love and talk to them? And I said, I gave that up a long time ago. I forgave that a long time ago.
Forgiveness is for you.
It was for me. And I don't have any malice in my heart. I don't have any anger. And sometimes we're holding things that are hurting us because we just want to hold on and have that vendetta and that grudge, grudge and that pride.
Yeah.
But sometimes letting that go and operating in an attitude of gratitude, because if that situation had never happened to me years ago, I wouldn't be sitting where I am today. So it was supposed to be a put down, but what it actually was a
like
propeller.
A setup.
It was a setup for
a stepping stone.
Hey, that's what they say.
So,
a setback is a setup for a comeback.
Yes. And it happens all the time. I think I even posted yesterday that a breakup or an opportunity that you thought that you lost, or you didn't get into this school, or you bid on a house and you didn't get that one. It was a bigger house, a better relationship, a better opportunity. There's so many things that where you think you cried about that, but really it was because you were supposed to get bigger and better. They talk about like Jesus with that big old bear behind his back to give to the little kid who thought they were losing the smaller bear. So there's always, when you think that it's something negative, a lot of times it's just a blessing because you were meant to have something bigger.
That's the thing. It's always something you can learn from a challenge. You can grow from a challenge. I say all the time, I compare it to exercise. You're not lifting feathers if you're trying to grow muscles and get stronger, right?
Right.
You're lifting some heavy weights. And, I'm a runner, but even trying to, run a 5K real quick, that still takes work for me. I'm not going to just walk, if I'm at a certain standard, you go at the level that you're at. It takes work.
Challenges build character.
Yeah.
You don't really grow from easy, You don't really grow from comfort. You grow from the challenges that you face and overcome. And that instills that confidence in you that, hey, when the next challenge comes, I'm going to defeat that one just as I did the one before.
Be ready.
Yeah. I think what you were talking about is emotional resilience. Because
resilience.
We have cancel culture and where people basically are like, it's the offended Olympics. Who can be offended the worst? And so sometimes it's like, boo, you shouldn't be offended by that. Like, no.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
You need to have some emotional resilience. And let's just think about that. So there's a balance coming in with this next generation.
I was literally just talking to my husband about that because I feel like you can choose when you're offended. But you can let yourself be offended and be upset and cancel the person, or you can just say, you know what? I'm going to decide not to be offended by this. And I think the same with respect. People are probably like, wait, what do you mean? If I'm disrespected, I'm disrespected. I know most of us are disrespected by some things, but you can choose not to be.
Right.
It's hard though. I get that.
But, I think that goes back to that responsibility. How am I going to respond to this? And do I have to, go ham and be like, oh, you're disrespecting me? Or do I just need to sidestep this situation and remove myself from your presence?
I read a book that was like the 9 things that successful people do. And one of the chapters was that you concentrate on positive things that bring around things that you want. Like you concentrate on those things versus spending time dwelling in what you don't want.
Yeah.
When you spend time on things that you do want, then you manifest more of the stuff that you do want. And so successful people do might cry over something for a day and think about it and, dwell in that, eat some ice cream and cookies. But then the next day you get up and you concentrate on the good stuff. And where are we going now?
Exactly. When you focus on positive, positivity comes. When you focus on negative, negativity comes. And a lot of my patients say, well, okay, Dr. Man, how am I going to think more positively? It just doesn't work. I can't do it. Well, that's because you've been thinking negative most of your life. And that's all right. Depression does that. It's okay. I'm not knocking that. But that's why it shows it takes work to get back into that positivity or into it if you've never done that, the positive affirmation.
I say you have to kill the ants, the automatic negative thoughts.
Yeah.
You have to kill them. And sometimes it takes, multiple attempts to get rid of them, and so you have to start changing the things that are coming in your eye gaze and your ear gaze and out of your mouth gate, because a lot of times we're thinking things, we're listening to other people talk negative things to us, we're watching negative things, we're saying negative things about ourselves or our situations. And so we really have to reprogram that whole thing if we want to start living in positivity and start to chase that.
Yeah. So as we come to an end and we're on Journey to Joy Live, tell me about your personal journey to joy and how that's been.
Okay. So part of that was that I knew that work is going to thrive. I knew that my children are going to thrive. But there was a time period where all I could do was make sure that I drank my water and took my supplements, but I was eating whatever, doing whatever. And so basically I didn't compare myself to anybody else. I basically said, it's not time. And then yesterday, ironically, we're doing this today, 24 hours later, but I clicked it and I said, it's time to take care of myself. Mm-hmm. So I'm on a journey to get that MILF body. I'm on a journey, mind, body, soul, to take care of myself, to get back into the wardrobe that I have in my closet that I can't fit into, to get my glow back and to feel and walk around with my head up and my shoulders back, that I didn't compare myself to anybody else. My journey is my journey, because sometimes you can see on Instagram, well, how did she bounce back in like 6 weeks and she's walking around in, a waist trainer holding her baby who, looks fresh. How did she do that? And so instead of comparing myself, I just said, I'm going to take this time. It's been over 2 years and over 3 years since I really worked out. And I flipped the switch yesterday, and I am on my health journey now.
Yes, that is fantastic. Congratulations. And before we go to your journey to joy, we have the fabulous Dr. Pamela Larde. In case you were wondering, where is our joy researcher?
Right.
Hello.
How's everyone?
We're doing great.
I've been listening. It's an amazing conversation you all have been having.
Thank you. We're just really excited to hear about this joy research.
What is that? What is joy?
Right.
research?
We are coming to an end, but we really want to hear about joy research and like the evidence behind joy.
Yeah. Well, it's rooted in well-being, and you all have been talking about that really the whole time, but it is rooted in well-being, and it's different from happiness because joy is something that comes from within. It is a wellspring that we have inside that we can tap into no matter what's happening, whether it's good, bad. When things are not good, it's hard to be happy. Mm-hmm. But when we're struggling, it is really, it's sort of an intentional practice to tap into that joy. And that's what I call joy resilience. And it's how we tap into it and we keep going, not necessarily in an unhealthy way that runs us into the ground, but in a way that is rooted in hope. Like there is better coming. As one of you said, even if we don't yet believe it, we have something to keep, pulling us forward and pulling us up.
Yes.
So
that's some good stuff. So, any tips from a research perspective can someone take if they feel like joy is just not in reach?
Right. Yeah. So I have a model, and it's called the MultiDimensional Framework of Joy. And there's 4 key elements.
All right.
Number 1 is well-being. So in order to experience joy, we've got to have a sense of well-being. The well-being then informs how we connect with people. So connection is the second one. The connections will be healthier if our well-being is good. Mm-hmm. If our well-being is struggling, we're going to find that our connections aren't really good and they don't nurture our joy. The third one is our practices. So how we practice joy, and it's how we internalize it, how we intentionally live out joy. So, and then the fourth one is revolutionary change. So when we have well-being, and it impacts our communities and it impacts how we engage in joy, we then are positioned to engage in revolutionary change. It can mean leaving a terrible job. It can mean transforming our relationships in our communities. It can mean I'm going to travel more. It can mean I want to just be an activist in the community. But we get that from this foundation of well-being, which yields our joy. So,
awesome.
Awesome. I love that.
Thank you so much. Dr. Joy Baker, what's your personal journey to joy has been like?
You know, my journey to joy has been really interesting. There's definitely been a lot of hills and valleys there. But one thing that I think that has remained consistent is that I always have hope. And hope is, I think, the essential piece of having joy. And so my journey to joy has really been about finding me. And I think that's what my channel Delivering Joy was about, was to find me and to actually talk about things that were interesting to me, that I find engaging. And I think that as we start to know ourselves better, it's not necessarily about giving people the persona of who they think they are, but actually showing up authentically. And I think that's been my journey to joy. It's just finding me and being authentic in that, and not worrying about who doesn't get it or who doesn't like it.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
It's joy is an everyday decision.
I find that I enjoy playing spades, talking that mad-ish, slamming the cards on the table. I like playing basketball, breaking someone's ankle. I like deep belly laughs where I laugh so hard that now with this postpartum bladder, I might leak a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah. Those deep belly laughs.
It is.
Yes,
It's
that
all
one,
about
I like that. I like that.
Laughter is medicine for the soul, and I love watching The Office. I like that dry humor for sure.
And as you mentioned sports, I just joined a professional women's football league, tackle football.
What?
And let me tell you, to be able to scream at the top of your lungs on that field is the most exhilarating experience ever. I didn't know I was going to get this kind of joy in 2025, but I needed it. So yes,
That's everybody's homework. Whoever's watching, do something different.
You better be getting paid.
Yes. So it's Atlanta Truth Women's Professional Football.
No way.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
I love that.
This was our inaugural season with the Women's Professional Football.
And you had to try out.
Yes, I had to try out, and I am the oldest person on the team.
Hey.
I did not. I got home and I got the call. I made the team, and here we are.
Congratulations.
Yes.
We gotta come see you.
Yeah.
That's so dope.
Yes.
We gotta come see you tackle some people.
Yes. And I'm a running back, so I kind of dodge the tackles.
Okay.
but
Oh,
yeah.
okay. So you just catching
Yes.
going for it.
Yes.
That's amazing.
So
I love
women's
that.
Professional. So it's I should say it right. WNFC, the Women's National Football Conference, is the national.
Did you play any sports in college?
Oh yeah, I've always been an
Wow.
athlete, and then when I started having children, I am about to be an empty nester. My daughter just graduated, so I was like, time to get
We're
back
on
to
all
it.
levels
Time to get
here.
back to it.
What sports?
Softball was college. I've played tennis, volleyball, track. So football, tackle football is pretty new.
I played D1 basketball in college.
Hey, okay,
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was really good in high school, and then in college, I just kept the team GPA up.
I love it.
Well,
At
I
the
was in
bench.
the marching band, so
But
when
it was
you
a
guys
cool
were on
ride.
the field, I was
Yeah.
doing band camp and all
Hey.
those things. And I twirled the flag. I didn't even play an instrument. People are always like, "What did you play?" I'm like, "Oh, I twirled the flag."
Hey, that's something. That's
That's
part of the
something.
team.
I could never make that. So
That is most definitely part of the team. You need that flag out there.
Oh, that is awesome. Well, this has been a great conversation. Do you want to share your personal journey to joy and what's that's been like?
Sure. I mean, I will say that definitely tackle football this year
Part
has
of it.
has been part of it. But I think the journey, we have so many different seasons, and
Mhm.
so the childbearing season. But now I'm stepping into the perimenopause,
Mm.
and I am like, what is this? And it's like different seasons, different things are happening at different times.
Whew.
So I've had to be really intentional.
Yeah.
Like, look, I look in the mirror and I'm like, okay, there's things changing,
Mhm.
and I'm going to be intentional about how I feel about myself, how I feel about the changes. We're not going backwards. I could look at the old pictures and say, oh, remember when your face used to do that, or when you're, no. So I'm really intentional about how do I find joy every day in who my body is becoming. And it's not
Intention.
easy, but you have to be intentional about it. So
Mhm.
And I'm so glad that
Excellent.
social media and media
Mhm.
and a lot of celebrities like Holly and Oprah
yes,
are putting perimenopause on
my
the map.
Yep.
Like, so there was
thing.
like, when the Women's Health Initiative came out in 2002, it kind of put over 2 decades of people where women weren't treated the way that they were supposed to be treated. And so
Mhm.
now they're debunking that, looking at the research for what it really is.
right.
And now we are treating women for perimenopause, like perimenopause and menopause inevitable. Suffering doesn't have to be. Find someone that's going to treat you
They can start.
and validate your feelings and validate what's happening in your body.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
podcast episode a few
Yes.
weeks ago, we were talking about how the first sign of it could be anxiety. You don't even
Yeah.
realize it.
Mhm.
Anxiety, brain fog.
Yep.
and those changes are natural. They're a part of life, but you don't really have to suffer. And I think that you bring up a great point with the Women's Health Initiative. There was just so much negativity that suddenly surrounded hormone replacement therapy, but we know better now. And so we can do better.
Right. Yeah. It decreases cancer risk, helps prevent dementia, helps prevent colon cancer, helps prevent osteoporosis. It's
right. There's no reason not to be treated, but I think there's a lot of fear surrounding that. So we need to really get the real research so that we can know.
And I've been digesting that. I mean, there is and I wish I could think of the name of the book, but it's related to joy and menopause.
Yeah.
And I'm like, let me eat this up because I'm about to make this one of the best seasons of my life. And I need to be intentional about it, and learning what the two of you are talking about has helped incredibly. Like, okay, it doesn't have to be terrible.
Absolutely.
Different things come at different stages of life.
And as we head into perimenopause can actually have more issues than actual menopause, because at menopause, at least, something's consistent.
Kind of steady.
But imagine dealing with an F-boy for a decade. That's what perimenopause is. Come rock your world for 3 nights and then ghost you for 10 days. Like, that's perimenopause. Like, your hormones are like this.
Everywhere.
Text you sometimes, ghost you. Like, that's what perimenopause is. So I think transitioning to where now we actually treat perimenopause that's a good
looking
transition.
forward to that.
I'm passionate about it.
So good.
Yeah.
And I've been told I'm almost there because
you're there.
It's like
we're 41. We're there. At 40, you are there.
Yeah,
we're there. You and I have been there for a year.
To the signs.
Okay, NJoy.
Yes, pay attention to the signs. Educate yourself. Get the treatment if you need it, whether it's mental or physical. Oh, thank you so much. Dr. Barbara Joy Jones, where can we find you?
On Instagram at the model doc, THEMODEL doc, and the healthy woman. So I'm a primary care physician in Lawrenceville, Georgia, in Gwinnett, OTP, north of Atlanta. So you can find me on Instagram, and you can come see me if you call the number 770-809-1100.
Awesome. Dr. Joy Baker, where can we find you?
Oh, so you can find me pretty much on any social media platform at Delivering Joy MD. And I also have a clinic where I do wellness and aesthetics. That's renewinfusionandwellness.com. So visit us if you're in our area. We'd love to see you. And then practicing OBGYN, you can find me online, hit me up, and we'd be happy to see you there as well.
Awesome. Dr. Pamela Larde, joy researcher. Yes. Where can we find you?
Well, and I didn't get to introduce myself. So I'm a coach and I do research on joy, as you mentioned. So you could find me on drpamelalarde.com. Just drpamelalarde.com, and everything's there. I have a joy retreat coming up in July in Costa Rica. And so it's called the Epic Joy Retreat. And so you can find all that information on the website, and you can find all things me, blog, coaching, everything right there. So yeah.
That sounds fantastic.
Yes.
Well, this has been a conversation with Joy about joy, 0 to 100, fueling our journey to joy. And if you do not have the NJoy and you've been trying to figure out how do I get through this stress and be intentional and live authentically, get your NJoy. My website, drnjoylife.com. It's $35 on there. Wife, mom, boss. Balancing it all without losing yourself. It is $15.49 on my website until the end of May. That's only a couple more days, and the price is going to go up.
Go cop you one.
That's right.
NJoylife.com.
Tomorrow's price.
Exactly. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining me for this conversation about joy.
Yes.
Wow. Thank you.
This has been an NJoy Life production. If you're in a crisis, don't hesitate. Call, text, or chat 988 for immediate support. Please note, this podcast is for informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional treatment. If you're looking for therapy or medication management through NJoy Life, visit www.drnjoylife.com to request a consultation. I'm licensed in 12 states. I accept Aetna in Georgia, Florida, and Virginia. Be sure to grab your copy of the NJoy to help you on your wellness journey. Also check out Inspire Joy for the wife, mom, boss to help you balance it all without losing yourself. Better yet, get the full Joy bundle for just $45. Remember, Journey to Joy Live is every Thursday at 7 p.m. Thank you for joining me, and until next time, may you continue to transform stress into joy.